On this deserted island with no electricity, no fresh water, poisonous insects and mosquitoes everywhere, and only the size of 2 football fields, this man has been holding on for 32 years. The only food is cold steamed buns soaked in seawater countless times. And the most crazy thing is loneliness. In order to protect this important strategic position of the motherland, he dedicated his whole life. His spirit of sacrificing his family for the country has moved hundreds of millions of people across the country. In 2014, he and his wife were awarded the honorary titles of Model of the Times and Model of the People. His name is Wang Jicai. On the 15th day of landing on the island, the storm swept in with the waves. He ran desperately with his only partner. After returning to the cabin, the doors and windows were almost all destroyed, and the only phone had lost signal. He wanted to block the seawater, but was accidentally washed out. He looked up and saw that the gate fire of the lighthouse was also extinguished. He was worried that the sailing ships would not see the signal of the lighthouse and would be in danger of running aground. So he climbed up the lighthouse in the fierce storm, cleaned the water on the ground, and turned on the switch again. Seeing the gate fire gradually light up, he was relieved. But when he looked down, he found that the national flag in the distance had been torn into pieces by the typhoon. The national flag represents the ownership of this island, and he dared not delay for a moment. After arriving at the warehouse, he immediately changed the brand new national flag, and then he filled in the log of the day. On this deserted island, loneliness is Wang Jicai's biggest challenge. But there are only 3 dogs who can talk to him, and now one of them has been washed away by the sea. At night, the thing he least wanted to see happened. Because of the thick fog, a team of fishing boats lost their way on the sea. Wang Jicai, who had no amplification equipment, desperately knocked on the basin and shouted a reminder. But there were still fishing boats that unfortunately hit the reef. Wang Jicai jumped directly into the sea to save people, and he finally rescued the people who fell into the water. The boy's name is Xiaoduzi, and his father was also buried on this island because his ship hit the reef. In order to repay Wang Jicai, Xiaoduzi promised to give him all the money he earned. But Wang Jicai didn't want anything. He just asked Xiaoduzi to have a drink with him. Although the living conditions were so difficult, he could hear Wang Jicai standing under the national flag and singing the national anthem loudly every day when he got up. Xiaoduzi couldn't help but admire him, and at this time, he also understood what supported Wang Jicai to stick to this isolated island. Just then, the phone in the room rang. Xiaoduzi heard that the other party was Wang Jicai's leader, and Xiaoduzi also mercilessly stood up for Wang Jicai. Hearing Wang Jicai's words, Minister Wang felt very uncomfortable. He knew what kind of life Wang Jicai lived, and he had been trying to find someone to take over, but no one was willing to go. He knew he had no face-to-face Wang Jicai. The food on the island was not enough for 2 people, so Xiaoduzi took the initiative to ask to leave the island. But Wang Jicai insisted on giving him a bag of food and asked him to stay on the boat as rations. In this way, Wang Jicai could only play poker with the puppy every day to spend a long and boring life. Wang Jicai's father often went to the Armed Forces Department to ask Minister Wang if there was anyone to replace his son, but he always got the same answer. Wang Shihua, Wang Jicai's wife, saw this scene, but she did not blame Minister Wang. When the school was about to have a winter vacation, she made a decision. She found the principal and quit her job as an elementary school teacher. After she entrusted her young daughter to her mother-in-law, Wang Shihua boarded a fishing boat to Kaishan Island. Wang Jicai saw the fishing boats on the shore through a telescope and danced with joy. He saw his wife, whom he had not seen for a long time, and they hugged each other tightly. At this moment, it seemed that all the loneliness and grievances disappeared. With the arrival of his wife, the cabin felt like home for the first time. But he couldn't bear his wife to suffer with him on the island, so Wang Jicai asked her to go back after the new year to teach well. But his wife said that as long as he was on the island for one day, she would not separate from him. The couple snuggled with each other in the difficult environment. Every morning, the national flag would be raised regardless of wind or rain. They also thought about why they did this. They also missed their parents and children at home. But if you don't guard this island and I don't, who will? In a blink of an eye, a few years passed, and Wang Shihua was pregnant. On a stormy night, she gave birth prematurely due to years of fatigue and malnutrition. Wang Jicai quickly called Minister Wang and asked him to send a boat to pick them up. But in such weather, the boat couldn't come up for several days. Minister Wang was afraid of accidents, and he was frantically looking for a doctor. He wanted to deliver the baby through remote command, but the conditions on the island were too bad, and Wang Shihua didn't give up even with her last effort. Wang Shihua was unwilling to give up, and she tried again and finally gave birth to the child. When Minister Wang heard that Wang Shihua and her child were safe, He breathed a sigh of relief and collapsed to the ground. Just a few minutes ago, Wang Jicai's father was hospitalized due to illness and eventually died after failed rescue. If Wang Shihua had any more accidents, Minister Wang would not be able to explain to Wang Jicai at all. In order to guard the island, Wang Jicai couldn't remember how long he hadn't been home to see his parents. Unexpectedly, he didn't even see his father for the last time. Although he was extremely sad, he understood that it was difficult to be both loyal and filial. His mission and responsibility destined him to be unable to be like ordinary people. A few days later, Minister Wang came to the island to comfort him and asked him to go home before March 7th. But Wang Jicai didn't trust anyone. Since then, the family of 3 has taken root on the island. They reinforced the cabin with cement. In order to let their son eat fresh vegetables, the couple used the soil brought by his father to reclaim a piece of wasteland. Kaishan Island's daily flag-raising ceremony also has a little guardian. The first song they taught their son was the national anthem. Soon, his son grew up to school age, and the couple watched their son leave the island reluctantly. The daily flag-raising ceremony is unshakable. With the economic development of the motherland, there are more and more smuggling ships. Whenever Wang Jicai and his wife find it, they will report it in time and stop it. However, the smugglers, who had been blocked from making money many times, were furious and rushed to the island to beat people. Wang Jicai had no weapons and could only pick up stones to confront the criminals, but the other side was outnumbered and he was beaten to a bloody pulp. Wang Shihua immediately returned to the room and called the police. She saw that the criminals were still not giving up, so in a hurry, Wang Shihua took out a rifle and fired a warning shot into the sky. Wang Jicai quickly told his wife to be careful not to hit anyone, but the gangsters became more rampant after hearing this and came up to grab the gun. Fortunately, Xiao Duzi appeared in time, and the nearby patrol police also rushed over after hearing the noise. Otherwise, the consequences would be disastrous. After not seeing each other for many years, Xiao Duzi has opened several martial arts schools and invited Jicai and his wife to help. Wang Jicai refused without hesitation, but Xiao Duzi told him that the gang had long targeted his 2 children in order to get Wang Jicai off the island. Xiao Duzi found out and took the children away in time so that the gangsters did not succeed. But if Wang Jicai did not leave the island again, the children would not be able to study. The couple fell into deep thought. One side is the country, the other side is the children. How to choose? This is the first time that Wang Jicai has wavered since he guarded the island. They decided to consult with their superiors, and he wanted to wait until the children grew up before coming back to guard the island. But when Wang Jicai found Minister Wang, he was told that Minister Wang had lung cancer and he didn't have much time left. Wang Jicai was filled with emotion, and he threw away the speech he had prepared long ago. But he knew the old leader's dying wish very well. He told Minister Wang very firmly, as long as the organization trusts him, he will not bow his head. Hearing this, Minister Wang's tears instantly fell. With this promise, he could close his eyes with peace of mind. Later, Wang Jicai went to the vegetable market to buy some vegetables to bring back to the island, but saw his daughter, who had dropped out of school, was working hard to sort conchs. He was stunned for a moment. It turned out that his mother had returned to her hometown, and his daughter gave up going to school in order to give her brother a better life. Seeing this scene, this steel man burst into tears instantly. Wang Jicai was speechless, and he felt ashamed of his debt. The only thing he felt sorry for in this life was his own family. Because of the promise, he had to go back to continue guarding the island. Just as the ship to Kaishan Island was leaving, his daughter stopped him. His daughter said that she and her brother wanted to be seagulls in the storm and be the bravest seagulls. It turned out that she had just seen her father's vicissitudes and fatigue on the bus, and she realized that her father had a heavy responsibility on his shoulders. Seeing their daughter's forgiveness, the couple, who had no worries, became more determined to guard the island. He and his wife have been staying on Kaishan Island for 10 years. They lived frugally and left money for their children. Many years later, their son did not disappoint them. He was admitted to the National Defense Academy. Their daughter also formed a happy family. Water purification and wind power generation facilities were also installed on the island, and everything was moving in a good direction. However, long-term fatigue caused Wang Shihua's legs to become ill. She was so old that she couldn't sleep every day. At Wang Jicai's urging, she had no choice but to go down the island to treat her legs, while Wang Jicai continued to stick to Kaishan Island. On July 27, 2018, Wang Jicai patrolled as usual. He stood on the lighthouse and looked at the sea area he had guarded for 32 years, from his prime to his gray hair. During this duty, he fell down and he never stood up again. Wang Shihua was always worried. When she was about to return to the island, she met her husband at the dock, but he was already unconscious. He died after failed rescue efforts at the age of 58. During the 32 years that Wang Jicai persevered, he wrote 189 diaries and waved 368 national flags. He was worthy of himself and the country, and the only thing he owed was his family. He failed to provide for his parents in their old age. He failed to send his blessings to his children's weddings, and of course, his wife, who never left him. This is a movie adapted from a true story. It records not only the fate of an individual, but also the collective memory of an era.